Welcome.
Hello again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my great pleasure to speak today and also to share my short knowledge and experience with you. My background is forestry, so today I would like to talk a little bit about the forestry and resilience. As you know, the theme of the conference is resilience. So during my presentation, I'd like to try to find some connection between resilience, ecosystem resilience, ecosystem restoration, and ecosystem management. I will use two small case studies that I have done in the past. So this is main content of my talk. I guess we are quite late, so I will try to be brief. You know, yesterday we experienced really heavy dust in the air, and you know, I'm not blaming, but some yellow dust coming from Mongolia or some, Mongolia area. So sometimes we see this kind of heavy 황사 or yellow dust. Sometimes we call it Asian dust. Then I have a small movie and then share with you. This was done by
In recent years, the desert surrounding
Arirang, which is the English channel in Korea.
We drove south to the Auditorium at the edge of Moscow's desert. It's impossible to imagine that this vast expanse of sand dunes is where goats, cows, and horses used to feed on grass.
Deserts like this cover about 40% of Mongolia's territory. Making things worse, almost all of Mongolia is suffering from rapid desertification.
Over the past decade, some 850 rivers, 1,000 lakes have dried up, and Mongolia's deserts now cover an area 7 times larger than South Korea. The negative effects of the country's rapid desertification are also felt beyond Mongolia, even thousands of kilometers away in Korea. These flying sands fly across northeastern China, reaching the Korean peninsula in about 48 hours. Their 2007 Greenbelt Plantation project, the two countries agreed to plant trees on the outskirts of the Gobi Desert to prevent desertification and try and block the flowing sands. Parts of Galanzagan have not only turned green, but the newly grown trees have also been helping out local communities. Some of the trees are more than mere dust blockers. They can contribute to making profit for the region. Planting trees is just one way to tackle desertification.
All right. Sometimes we plant trees in arid and semi-arid regions. Then we can ask a question. Is it okay to plant trees in terms of ecosystem resilience? Is it okay to recover ecosystem resilience by planting trees? So I would like to introduce two small cases that I worked. First one is in China. Almost 15 years ago, I worked in Inner Mongolia, China, to combat desertification funded by Korea Forest Service. Who is this guy? Very sandy soil, and sand is moving by wind. So, sand fixation is very important in arid and semi-arid region. So we apply different techniques to fix sand movement. And also, we plant trees like a drought-tolerant Chinese poplar trees, populous trees. And also, sometimes we plant willow trees, Salix genus. And then internationally, many organizations and even Korean companies and Korean government planted quite a lot of trees in Mongolia area, China. And I had a chance to visit several places which planted trees by different years. So I visited the site 2001 plantation site, 2006 plantation site, and 2009 plantation site. 10 years interval plantation site. I was curious if can we see any changes in soils? So I collected the soils and analyzed them. And interestingly, find out that the proportion of sand is decreasing, not a lot, but 0.1% decreasing annually during 10-year period. What about the other elements? I analyzed carbon, nitrogen, and potassium, magnesium. And you see here, by simple regression, they are increasing only during for 10 years period. So, carbon, nitrogen, potassium, and magnesium concentration increased for 10 years. And then now, second small case study in Central Asia, the RRC area. You know the small sea, RRC in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. This picture shows the changes in the RRC by year. So in the year of 2002, you see quite a lot of water, but gradually it's decreasing. So desiccation is occurring there. So we don't call the RRC, they call RR. Who means desert. It's not a sea anymore. It's a desert now. So they call the RRC. The problem is, dust storm from this desiccated area is blowing toward the nearby area, so affecting communities in all aspects of life in that area, so worsening the environmental condition near the RRC. Only for 30 years, approximately 4.5 million hectares of the RRC has desiccated only for 30 years by Landsat satellite imaging. In Kazakhstan area, during 30 years, almost 3 million hectares were desiccated. That's quite a lot of area. You know, total forest land area in Korea is 6 million hectares. So approximately half of our Korean forest land area is desiccating in the RRC for just 30 years. So there is a book, RR again, a man-made desert. It's a man-made desert. You know the history of the RRC. Using the water from the rivers, two rivers, people were heavily using waters for agricultural product, including cottons. So that was the main cause. So in this book, they said that this is a man-made disaster, man-made desert. So you see this kind of photo frequently. Previously, the fisheries was the main industry, but now fishery is gone. So you see many shells in the RRC bed. You see the white small shells. And also sand. Interestingly, they have long experience to plant trees in the dried RRC bed using tractor and saxaul. Saxaul is one of the most drought and also salt-tolerant tree species. So they are planting these saxaul trees in the dried RRC bed. Interestingly, when you plant trees like this, line planting, after a few years, naturally, plants are invading. They didn't plant trees between the lines, but gradually they are invading. These two lines are artificially planted saxauls, but between them, naturally invading. So I was interested in what kind of changes in soil properties and soil enzyme activities are occurring in this area. So I visited there with the students and professors, Professor Lee and Professor Kang Jin. He's sleeping there. Anyhow, so we had quite intensive soil sampling there. So basically, we took samples from 4 sites. Degraded area, no vegetation. P1, area of forested in 2002, about 15 years ago. P2, of forested in 2013, 5 years ago. And NA, naturally vegetation invaded area. Of course, it took much longer than the artificial plantation. As you saw, between the lines, naturally vegetation invaded. It took much longer time than to establishing saxaul by plantation. And then we analyzed the soil properties. The thing is, as you see here, P1, plantation in 2002, 15 years ago, naturally invaded area. All soil characteristics are significantly higher than no vegetation or only 5-year plantation site. What about the enzyme activities? Same. 15 years ago, plantation site, naturally invaded site, show much higher soil enzyme activities. And also, we see some relationships between soil water content and enzyme activities, soil total nitrogen concentration and enzyme activities, and so on. So obviously, we are seeing very interesting and also statistically significant changes in soil and microbial activities in artificially planted area compared to the degraded area. So the last line, I think afforestation, artificial plantation, seems to be a quicker method that is as effective as natural vegetation establishment. Naturally invading vegetation, it takes quite a long time. But artificial plantation seems to be a quite fast and efficient way to recover vegetation there. Then the question is, what about resilience? Is it okay for ecosystem resilience? Then we should see the relationship between ecosystem resilience and ecosystem restoration. I won't repeat the concept or importance of resilience. However, there are many debates on the relationship between resilience and restoration in the website and in many documents. Then, there are many kinds of ways of restoration based on ecosystem structure and function, like restoration, rehabilitation, natural processes, reclamation, so on. Then, there are some concerns about ecosystem restoration in terms of ecosystem resilience. I read the red font sentence. It says, one of the challenges facing ecologists is that these man-made alterations have led to radical transformation of ecosystem structure and functions, often signaling a loss of resilience, and making it harder to restore their original state. So they claim that artificial plantation, like restoration, seems to lead to a loss of resilience, making harder to restore their original state. Is it true? Is it okay to accept this argument? This statement comes from the area of hydrology, rivers and related dams construction and so on. So I thought it might be depends on how we manage the ecosystem. Depending on ecosystem management, we will get more perfect ecosystem resilience, not just leading to a loss of ecosystem resilience by ecosystem restoration. So next key is the connection between ecosystem restoration and ecosystem management. Then I wouldn't repeat the concept of ecosystem management. However, key is that this is integrated managing processes that enhance major ecosystem services and meet socio-economic, political, and cultural needs while maintaining sustainability of ecosystem. To do that, we needed to take adaptive strategic ecosystem management. So it looks quite interesting and quite appealing to debate about the loss of ecosystem resilience by ecosystem restoration. Here, I again read this red font sentence. In response to this inherent uncertainty in terms of ecosystem management, most of these large-scale restoration programs have taken an adaptive management approach. So they should be more flexible, they should be more comprehensive, they should consider more interactions among all factors related to ecosystem management. That's the key. So I would say we have to move from ecosystem management concept to ecosystem-based management. A little bit more flexible, however, a little bit more comprehensive and considering more complex interactions. So what is ecosystem-based management? Ecosystem-based management is an integrated management approach that recognizes the full array of interactions within an ecosystem, including humans, rather than considering single issues, species, or ecosystem services in isolation. It stresses the importance of connection or interaction of all factors related to ecosystem function and structure. So, EBM allows for consideration of resource trade-offs that help protect and sustain diverse and productive ecosystem and the services they provide. So, these are the core characteristics of EBM. So, it should be adaptive and flexible, responsive to monitoring and research result, place-based with the geographic area. Place-based. That means site-specific. We should carefully consider specific site. Cross-sector, you should consider all sectors, all interactions. Proactive, more active, more intense. Inclusive and collaborative. So you should consider all stakeholders, all aspects of not only ecological or environmental, but also social and economical, political aspect. That's the key concept. So, quick summary. Ecosystem degradation by natural and artificial disturbances, including climate change, is rapidly and broadly occurring, as you know. Ecosystem restoration is inevitable. However, it should secure ecosystem resilience through wise management, including ecosystem-based management. That was my message. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I just have one question, which is maybe a little bit my own. Do you know some people, or maybe you know yourself, people who monitor the success to decrease the dust movement from Mongolia to Korea? So probably people monitor also the air quality. Do you see already some improvement, or does it take more time?
It's
Do you
quite,
have information on that?
it's quite a difficult question, I think. You know, even though we plant trees, artificial plantation in Mongolia, Mongolia and some other areas, compared to the unvegetated area, the proportion is really, really small. Only 0.00 something like percentage. So I would say it significantly changes the condition. However, important thing is, by planting trees, we are seeing some changes there, and if it goes along with the other activities together later, it will change. So we see a small hope, not a real change, but I think at least we see a small hope there. That's what I can say.
So that means that you're also thinking in the direction to encourage the local people, the local government
Exactly.
to follow your example, to plant more trees, or to take also other actions to decrease and to act against this.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I would like to say.
What an amazing presentation. My question is in relation to what Australia is experiencing. Exactly 8 months ago, we had a severe drought. Now, the government is very proactive, what they call drought proofing of soil. At the end of the day, you keep the soil vegetation, you can mitigate the drought. So the focus has been now what they call sacrificial land. So we have a lot of cattle and sheep. So whenever there is a drought, we try to keep these cattle and drought in a small sacrificial area so that the rest of the land has some vegetation to overcome the problem. So I'm wondering whether this line of thinking is happening in Mongolia. I know that your forest vegetation is part of the vegetation. So vegetative cover play a major role.
Yes, yes. Good example, and thank you for the comments. I guess professors knows much better than me, but I think they are trying many possible ways to tackle with the problem. So local community and local governments are trying to do so many options they can do. That's what I understand. Of course.
This program, we call the Grant for Green or Green for Grant, I forgot now, it's the other way around. But anyway, it's we retired the agriculture land and the revegetation, the natural, the forestry, maybe initially it's okay, but when the ecosystem naturally adapt to the climate, maybe grassland will take up because the tree take a lot of water. But anyway, the initial tree plantation will help stabilize the sand and improve the local environment for other plants to come in to stabilize. I think it's working. Thank you for your support.
Sorry to take too much time. So.
Yeah, you're a younger brother.
He comes
So
from Vietnam. His last name is Song, same as me. He's my younger brother.
So thank you for your wonderful presentation. So I just give some comment from Vietnamese case because Vietnam also recognizes the importance of the reforestation program certificate in the large scale. So this is mobilize all the resources to do that. So I also like the use a custom-based based management because we also related to the social and economic development. We also decide to choose the species that they can use for the economic use. So this is for Vietnam. This is acacia. Acacia is very good in the decorative soil, but also is good for production. It's used for paper. So that's why this is the species mostly commonly planted in Vietnam. And that's why the forest cover now increased up to more than 40% of the country. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely correct. Thank you for your wonderful comments.
Okay, last one.
Sorry, the part of the country, India, where I am staying, Raniganj coalfield area is there. Raniganj coalfield area is there, where this mining operations is going on. Most of the mining operation is surface mining. So due to surface mining, they are making so much of voids, locally called khadans. We are the first or pioneer worker regarding this of your ecosystem restoration. But we have done through reclamation, the terminology that we have used there, that is ecological reclamation. So the pisciculture we have done for the economic development of the core group of people, those who are solely dependent on the coal poaching. So now they are converted themselves. There is no agriculture because it is a coalfield area. So they are now interested about the cage culture by means of which the economic development of that part or that area become enhanced. So sir, I want to also associate with you people regarding more knowledge regarding political restoration and resilience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for wonderful comments.
Yeah. Please, big hand.